Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. I'm so happy to be here with the wonderful devotees in this wonderful temple. Thank you so much for letting me be here. We're going to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 5, Chapter 13, Text 23. Yeah, 23. Yes, I prepared very nicely for the wrong verse. All right. I guess I'm going to have to depend on Krishna.
Maybe you can just quickly do this one and then...
I don't even know which verse I prepared for.
Maybe 24, because yesterday it was written 22, 23.
Yes, I did. I prepared for 24.
Yes, that's fine. You can just read it.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. So let's do this verse together because the meter is much easier and it's also written on the board. So this is Canto 5, Chapter 13, Text 23. Namo Mahadbhyo Stunama Shishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Nama Avatubhya Ye Brahmana Gamavaduta Lingas Charanti Tebhya Shivam Asturagyam Namo Mahadbhyo Stunama Shishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Nama Avatubhya Ye Brahmanai Gam Avaduta Lingas Charanti Tebhya Shivam Asturagyam. Please chant. Namo Mahadbhyo Stunama Shishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Nama Avatubhya Ye Brahmana Gam Avaduta Lingas Charanti Tebhya Shivam Asturagyam. Namo Mahadbhyo Stunama Shishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Nama Avatubhya Ye Brahmana Gam Avaduta Lingas Shivam Asturagyam. Vaishnavis. Namo Mahadbhyo Stunama Shishubhyo Namo Yuvabhyo Nama Avatubhya Ye Brahmana Gam Avaduta Lingas Charanti Tebhya Shivam Asturagyam. Namaha. All obeisances. Mahadbhya. Unto the great personalities. Astu. Let there be. Namaha. My obeisances. Shishubhya. Unto those great personalities who appear as boys. Namaha. Respectful obeisances. Yuvabhya. Unto those who appear as young men. Namaha. Respectful obeisances. Avatubhya. Unto those who appear as children. Yea, all those who. Brahmana. self-realized in transcendental knowledge.
self-realized in transcendental knowledge.
Gam, the earth. Avadutalinga, who remain hidden under different bodily guises.
Who remain hidden under different bodily guises.
Charanti, they traverse. Tebya, from them. Shivam astu, let there be all good fortune.
Let there be all fortune.
Ragyam, unto the royal dynasties or kings,
Unto the royal dynasties or kings.
who are always very puffed up. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the great personalities, whether they walk on the earth's surface as children, young boys, avadutas, or great brahmanas, even if they are hidden under different guises. I offer my respects to all of them. By their mercy, may there be good fortune in the royal dynasties that are always offending them. Purport. King Rahugana was very repentant because he had forced Jadbharata to carry his palanquin. He therefore began offering prayers to all kinds of brahmanas and self-realized persons, even though they might be playing like children or hiding in some guises. The four Kumaras walked everywhere in the guise of 5-year-old boys, and similarly there are many brahmanas, knowers of Brahman, who traverse the globe either as young men, children, or avadutas. Being puffed up due to their position, the royal dynasties generally offend these great personalities. Therefore, King Rahugana began to offer his respectful obeisances unto them, so that the offensive royal dynasties might not glide down into a hellish condition. If one offends a great personality, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not excuse one, although the great personalities themselves might not take offense. Maharaj Ambarish was offended by Durvasa, who even approached Lord Vishnu for pardon. Lord Vishnu would not grant him pardon. Therefore, he had to fall down at the lotus feet of Maharaj Ambarish. Even though Maharaj Ambarish was a Kshatriya Grihasta, one should be very careful not to offend the lotus feet of Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. Is it okay if I read one more verse?
Yeah.
It's not a problem. It won't disrupt tomorrow's speaker? No? Okay. Text 24. This is one of those very complicated meters. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ityevam Uttara Mata Savai Brahmarshi Sutta Sindhu Pataya Atma Satatvam Viganayata Paranubhava Parama Karuna Katosya Bidashya Rahuganena Shakuranam Abhivandita Charana Apurnarnava Iva Nibrita Kararnomi Ashayo Daranim Imam Vichachara. That's not how to recite that verse, in case you're wondering. Translation. Srila Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, O son of Mother Uttara, there were some waves of dissatisfaction in the mind of Jadbharata due to his being insulted by King Rahugana, who made him carry his palanquin. But Jadbharata neglected this, and his heart again became calm and quiet like an ocean. Although King Rahugana had insulted him, he was a great Paramahamsa. Being a Vaishnava, he was naturally very kind-hearted, and he therefore told the king about the constitutional position of the soul. He then forgot the insult because King Rahugana pitifully begged pardon at his lotus feet. After this, he began to wander all over the earth, just as before. Purport. In Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-21, Kapiladev describes the symptoms of great personalities. Titikshava karunika suhrida sarvadehinam. A saintly devotee is certainly very tolerant. He is the friend of all living entities, and he does not create enemies within the world. A pure devotee has all the qualities of a sadhu. Jad Bharata is an example of this. Due to the material body, his senses were certainly agitated when he was insulted by King Rahugana. But later, due to the king's humble submission, Jad Bharata excused him. It is the duty of everyone desiring to return to Godhead to become submissive like King Rahugana and beg pardon of Vaishnavas one may have offended. Vaishnavas are generally very kind-hearted. Therefore, if one immediately submits himself at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, one is immediately cleared of offensive reactions. If one does not do so, the reactions will remain, and the results will not be very palatable. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Extremely instructive verse and purport. My glasses. So, it's very interesting. This person, Jad Bharata, is a Paramahamsa, but still he felt something when he was insulted. Normally one might think someone is a Paramahamsa. If someone insults him, that person will feel nothing. But he's a living being, so naturally the sensitivity is there, and another living being is acting in a harsh way towards him. So naturally he feels some disturbance, some pain, pain in the heart. Even we have the example of Lord Shiva, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, most exalted Vaishnava, transcendental. But when Daksha was offending him, he felt pierced in the heart. Not because of false ego. Lord Shiva doesn't have any false ego. He's a pure devotee. But he's a living being, so naturally there's sensitivity. But then Jad Bharata, he composed himself by transcendental knowledge. He was able to compose himself. Because the nature of a Vaishnava is that a Vaishnava has certain qualities, the qualities of the soul. Titikshava karunika suhrida sarva dehinam. Here, Prabhupada is quoting this famous verse. Titikshava, tolerant. A devotee is tolerant, which is a rare quality in this world. In this world, the tendency for souls is to be totally intolerant, easily offended, looking to be offended. If someone looks at you the wrong way, what to speak if they bump into you, what to speak if they speak harsh words towards you, what to speak if they cheat you, one feels immediately offended and intolerant and starts scheming, thinking, you've done that to me, let's see how I can get back at you. This is the nature of the conditioned soul. Because of the false ego, the conditioned soul is thinking that I'm the center of reality, I'm very, very important, and this fool doesn't understand how important I am. How dare you bump into me? Don't you know who I am? Very easily offended and ready to respond, ready to react. But a Vaishnava, or someone who's cultivating spiritual understanding, they know their real position. They know, what am I? I'm a tiny soul. And not only I'm a tiny soul, but I'm a tiny soul that's living in somewhat shameful position, you can say. Once Satsvarup Maharaj was asked, what does it mean to be humble? And his response was very interesting. What does it mean to be humble? He says to be humble means to be realistic. That's all. Just to be realistic. Because from any angle you look at it, we souls, we're insignificant. If we look at it from the point of view of our stature, our size, how big are we as souls? Can anyone say how big we are as souls? Immeasurably small, 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. You can't even divide the tip of a hair twice. What to speak of 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. So from that position, that angle, we're extremely tiny. In terms of our capacity to control, are we significant or insignificant? We're insignificant. We hardly can control anything. We can't control our own body. What to speak of other people's lives? You learn that when you get married. You think, yes, I'll get married, and this will be my partner, and my partner will cooperate with me in this way and that way, and it'll be just, this is how it'll unfold. It never unfolds like that, because that person's another living being with their own agenda, their own desires. And then you have a child, and for some time the child is under control. Come. And the child comes with their big eyes and their happy disposition. Yes, Tati, what do you want? And then the child becomes a teenager. And then I have no control over this living entity anymore. Then you just pray to Krishna. Krishna, you please protect that kid. So we don't have the capacity to control. We're tiny. We don't have the capacity for much control. And in terms of our standing, we're living in the most degraded age. This is the age where the souls who don't fit well in the other ages, they take birth in Kali Yuga, by and large. There's some very special souls who take birth in Kali Yuga and are servants of the Lord and have exalted consciousness. But by and large, if a soul takes birth in Kali Yuga, it's for a good reason. They want to enjoy in a way which is not really acceptable or appropriate in the other ages. So Kali Yuga is the perfect age to enjoy oneself in an unrestricted way. So it's a very degraded age. So the devotee takes all of these things into consideration and thinks, what is there for me to be proud of? What's my position? I'm a tiny soul, and I've taken birth in Kali Yuga, and I've rejected my best friend, my well-wishing friend, Krishna. I've rejected him. And I've taken the position artificially of trying to be the enjoyer, the exploiter of my best friend's energy. Not a very nice thing to do. So naturally, the devotee adopts a humble attitude. And therefore the devotee is tolerant. If things happen which are not pleasing to me, which happens all the time in the material world, all the time. Someone cuts me off in traffic. There was a trend in California. I hope it's not as prominent now as it used to be. Someone cuts you off in traffic. In other countries, you roll down the window, you wave your fist at the person, maybe you shout some words. In California, they just pull out a gun. No, not joking. Extreme cases of road rage. How dare you? You cut me off in traffic. But why does the devotee tolerate? The devotee tolerates because the devotee sees life in a different way. First thing is that the devotee sees the hand of Krishna in everything. The nature of conditioned life is that we see God nowhere. Yes? We don't see God anywhere. And the nature of enlightened life is that we see Krishna's hand in everything, in every single incident, in every experience that we have. We see this is Krishna's hand. Krishna is guiding this circumstance. Krishna's mercy. It's not only Krishna guiding each circumstance, but it's him guiding it in a way which is for our benefit, for our upliftment, for our rectification, for our edification, for our purification. I can try to think of one more word which is synonymous, but nothing comes to mind. It's Krishna's hand in everything, and that's how the devotee sees it. And that's reality. It's not that I'm just seeing it artificially. It's actually true. Krishna's hand is in everything. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of Krishna, without the sanction of Krishna. And in the case of a devotee, he understands or she understands this is Krishna's loving hand. His loving hand. And how does his loving hand manifest? Well, Krishna is a perfect parent. So his loving hand manifests appropriately based on what's needed. Sometimes it comes in the form of a beautiful plate. You're walking into the temple and the devotee says, "Oh, Haribol, this Mahaprasad just came off the altar. Here it is." And so, Krishna's mercy. Beautiful. And one has appreciation and gratitude for Krishna. And very often it comes in a different way, in a way which is painful, disturbing. That's also Krishna's mercy. In fact, it might be Krishna's special mercy. This is Krishna's way of molding us, giving us the opportunity to develop our spiritual qualities, to develop tolerance, to develop spiritual vision, to develop a compassionate attitude. And the devotee never thinks that I'm the, It's easy when someone else is going through a difficult period. Very easy. I mean, we shouldn't do it, but it's easy to think of all the verses of how one should tolerate and how this is one's karma and, this is Krishna's mercy. But when it's happening to us, it's more difficult to recollect those verses. But actually, it's Krishna's mercy. And the devotee sees that this is a token of my karma. That's all. If we think about things that people have done to us, I don't want to think about extreme cases, but just ordinary interactions. Someone is rude to us. Someone does something which is unfair, crooked in our dealing with them. Can we say honestly that there's no point in my embodied existence? No point. During my life as a conditioned soul in this world, during my millions of lifetimes where I've done that same thing to someone else, can anyone make that claim? No way. No way. It's just a token of what I've put out. I'm getting it back. And that's how the devotee sees it. That's how the devotee adjusts their intelligence to see it in that way. So initially there's some disturbance due to the circumstance, but then the devotee adjusts their intelligence and says, yes, but all the pain that I've given to living entities, and I'm getting a little bit of that pain back, a little bit of that discomfort back. And it's for my good. It's for my purification. It's to help me become detached from this world. Because when life is going very smooth, just as we like it to go, we like life to go very smoothly, then the tendency is there to think, the material world, not such a bad place after all. Just like here in the previous verse, the description was being given about the kings, the great rulers, and how they become totally bewildered because they're at the top of the heap. Everyone is bowing down to them. Everyone is treating them with reverence. Everyone is addressing them very respectfully. Everyone is very careful. Deal very carefully with an animal with horns, a fast-flowing river, and a king. Watch your words. Watch how you interact with that person. Because that person has a lot of power and a lot of pride. And that person, if you tell them that this material world is a place of suffering, an unfit place for the soul, that maybe for you, not for me, I'm living the life. So the difficult experiences of life, the painful experiences of life, they're very favorable. They're very favorable for our developing detachment. And the enjoyable experiences of life, we have to be careful with those. We have to always remember, okay, now I'm walking on a beautiful beach, the sun is shining, life is good, my mind is quite peaceful. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you. And we should be certain, sure and certain, that that sunny day is going to turn into a rainy day at some point, because that's the nature of life in this world. It's constantly in flux. It's never steady. Although we have a tendency to project eternity on temporality. Right? I could have said that in a much easier way, but I didn't. We tend to think that the circumstances of life, whatever they are, they're going to stay forever. But they don't stay forever. Sometimes the mind is peaceful, or we're feeling spiritually enriched, and we think, oh, I figured it out. It's always going to be like this. No, it's not going to be like that. The mind again will become disrupted, and we're again going to feel spiritually challenged, spiritually weak. In this way, there's always duality in this world. And we should expect it. And what is our business? Our business is to stay steady through the duality. My business stays the same. Through the tough times, through the easy times, my business stays the same, which is to continue nourishing myself spiritually, continue trying to remember Krishna more and more, continue with my duties, my ordinary duties and my spiritual duties. I have to maintain steadiness. That's easier said than done. But this is one of the first instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, that one who is steady amidst the dualities of life, that person is fit for liberation. And as we continue to cultivate our spiritual practice, then we function less on the material platform, less on the platform of the mind, and we function more on the platform of the soul. Just like someone is in the ocean, and when you're on the surface of the ocean, all of the waves are just tossing you, throwing you. Sometimes the ocean is very smooth. Oh, it's not so bad. And other times the waves are coming and tossing, and the person is just being thrown here and there and gasping for air. But one who's cultivating Krishna consciousness over time, they're not functioning on the surface of the ocean. They're going deeper under the surface. And as you go deeper, you're less and less affected by the disturbances on the surface. Yes? Like when you're a little bit deep, you still feel, okay, it's kind of turbulent up there. But as you go deeper in spiritual consciousness, then there can be a hurricane above the water, a hurricane with 20-foot waves. And the yogi feels no disturbance from it, even to the point where death, which is pretty disturbing as it gets, the yogi's undisturbed. In one place, Prabhupada says it's like you're walking down the street and you're kind of distracted, your chadar falls off your shoulder. You didn't even notice it, that the chadar fell off your shoulder. So the yogi has that capacity to go so deep in their meditation on Krishna, so absorbed that even the most disturbing thing in the material world doesn't disturb the deep, deep yogi. So we're cultivating Krishna consciousness to awaken our spiritual nature. And one of those qualities that is awakened is tolerance. And until that quality is awakened, we have to practice tolerance. We have to practice. We have to adjust our mind. Our mind just wants to be vindictive. And the mind can hold on to revengeful thoughts for weeks, months, years, decades. And it still comes up, yeah, that guy did that to me. That was in high school, And I still want to get revenge on the guy from high school. So unless one practices tolerance, and we practice everything in a state of dependence on Krishna. That's how we practice everything. We're trying to cultivate certain view of the world, certain view of other living entities, a certain way of interacting with this world. And we say, Krishna, I need your help. This is the essence of Bhakti Yoga. In all circumstances, Krishna says, just depend upon me. By my grace, you will cross over all the obstacles of this material world. And where are the obstacles of this material world? Where are they located? Mainly, the obstacles of this world. Where are they located mainly? The mind, internal. That's it. The main obstacle is the mind. The main obstacle is internal. People are thinking the main obstacle is external. I just have to adjust this and adjust that and, figure this out and figure that and put all the... Never. It'll never happen. The yogi knows that. So the yogi practices adjusting the internal condition. And then when the soul is awakened, then tolerance naturally is there. Naturally, tolerance is there. Not only tolerance, but tolerance and then compassion towards the person who was inflicting some discomfort. We have prime examples. Prahlad Maharaj, of course, is one of the most famous examples. Imagine that someone is torturing you. You can't even imagine it. Someone is torturing you, and you harbor zero bad feelings towards that person. It's like, it's an inconceivable state of consciousness. That this person who's tortured me, what is my final conclusion? My dear Lord, I don't want any benediction from you. But if you want to give any benediction, then you please liberate this person who was torturing me. You please free him from that ignorance, from that suffering. Haridas Thakur was being brutalized, beaten in 22 marketplaces. And the whole time he was just praying to Lord Chaitanya, my dear Lord, you please don't take the offense of these ignorant people seriously. You please don't punish them. And therefore Lord Chaitanya's hands were bound because God, he's controlled by his pure devotees. So Lord Chaitanya was ready to just hurl down the Sudarshan Chakra to kill these people who were abusing his devotee. But his hands were bound. He couldn't do it because his devotee was praying, you please don't punish them. You don't punish them, please. That's my request to you. So Krishna, he's bound by the requests of his devotees. It's an inconceivable state of... That's a Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava. Not only tolerant, but merciful, even towards those who don't deserve any mercy. They don't deserve any mercy. They deserve the greatest negative consequence. But the devotee doesn't feel like that. The devotee just wants that people should be happy. Vasudev Datta, who again is Prahlad Maharaj, Vasudev Datta? Must be Prahlad Maharaj. He came in Lord Chaitanya's Leela, And Lord Chaitanya came to him and says, ask a benediction. You please ask a benediction. I don't want anything. I'm satisfied with just serving you. I just want to serve you. That's it. That's the benediction I want. Nothing else. Lord Chaitanya says, please ask a benediction. He said, if you want to give me a benediction, then you please give me the benediction that all the karma of all of the people in the material universe, all the karma, you please put it on my head. I will suffer and they should go back to Godhead. That's the heart of a pure Vaishnava. And this is the highest form of worship. The highest form of worship, as described in the Bhagavatam, is to undergo suffering for the spiritual elevation of others. This is the highest way to worship Krishna. That I'm willing to accept, anyone who's willing to accept pain, suffering, inconvenience for benefiting others spiritually. Shishi Gaurnitai ki jai. Shishi Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai. It's 8:20. What time am I supposed to go till?
8:30.
Okay. This is the highest form of worship. And that person who voluntarily accepts pain, suffering for elevating others, that person becomes so dear to Krishna and so glorified. Just like Srila Prabhupada. You know, we hear the story. We've heard it for years and years. We hear it again and again and again. How Prabhupada, at the age of 70, crossed the ocean, suffered 2 heart attacks, arrived eventually in New York City. Nothing, penniless, no friends, no contacts, nothing. And it wasn't like, okay, now you're in New York. Let me send a bunch of sincere people to help you. No, 1 year struggling in New York with nothing. Just Prabhupada said, I was loitering in the street, trying to sell a few books barely to make my eatables. 70 years old. He thought, maybe I can't go back. I can't give up the mission of my spiritual master. We hear that story again and again, but we appreciate it more deeply each time. This is an act of incredible sacrifice. For what? So that we can sit here. We can sit here and appreciate, that we've been given the greatest gift. The gift which the soul is wandering in this material world. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Bij. The soul is just wandering aimlessly, suffering, birth and death, sometimes as a king, sometimes as a pauper, as a dog, as a rodent, just wandering aimlessly, experiencing tremendous suffering. And then by great good fortune, one is given the seed of bhakti. By Krishna's grace, and one comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master and receives the seed of bhakti. And what is that seed? That's something which is so wonderful that only advanced souls can understand how wonderful bhakti is. The sweet, loving exchange between the soul and Krishna. It's something which is indescribably wonderful. Forget the pleasure of the material world. That's nothing. If you multiply that, who knows how many times you get the pleasure of Brahman, being freed from the material world. Brahmananda, the pleasure of the soul being so-called merged into the Brahman effulgence. And if you multiply that, I forget, millions of times, it doesn't equal an atomic particle of one drop of the ocean of love of God. And that's what we've been given. So the path that has been given is very clear. It's just a question of applying it properly. There's nothing left to chance. The exact lifestyle has been presented to us. The science of how to transform consciousness, how to purify consciousness. And here in this verse, we're being given a very stern warning about what can derail our spiritual life, what can sabotage our spiritual life. Here, King Rahugana, he didn't know. He's the king on the big palanquin. He didn't know that one of his palanquin carriers was a Paramahamsa. Even if he wasn't a Paramahamsa, the other three were also living beings. So he's obliged, he's recommended, it's in his interest to respect all four palanquin carriers. Forget about the Paramahamsa. All four of them, respect them all, because all of them are part of God. All of them have the super soul within him, but he was bewildered by his kingly position, and therefore he offended one of the palanquin carriers who happened to be a pure devotee. And Prabhupada says here that if one does not beg the forgiveness after offending, then the results will not be very palatable. It's an interesting way to put it. The results will not be very palatable. And they will be inescapable. Just like our karma, just like soul's karma. Everyone's trying to escape their karma. Let me see how I can escape this No. Unless one is surrendered to Krishna, karma is inescapable. In the same way, Vaishnava aparad is inescapable. And what is the essence of that unpalatable experience? What is the essence of it? The essence of that unpalatable experience is that you lose Krishna's mercy. That's all that is of value in this world, is Krishna's mercy. And Krishna is merciful to everyone, and he's especially merciful to those who are endeavoring to come back to him. Krishna's got his eyes on those souls. Oh, this soul, after so long, this soul has turned towards me and is endeavoring. So Krishna is especially merciful towards those souls who are endeavoring to come close to him, come back to him. And this one thing can sabotage all of that. It's very sad. Sometimes you see that devotees are doing very nice seva. They're preaching, they're doing deity worship, they're engaged in temple service, they're doing all sorts of wonderful sevas. And then they spoil it by not dealing carefully with other living entities, and especially by not dealing carefully with other Vaishnavas, with other devotees of the Lord. Just like you're cooking a big pot of sweet rice. And it takes time to cook a nice pot of sweet rice, to do it nicely. It has to be at the right temperature, and you're stirring very carefully in order to get that beautiful result that you can offer to Krishna. And then after so much endeavor, the heat is coming up, then the person thinks, let me just add one final ingredient to the sweet rice. And what do they add to the sweet rice? What do they add?
Salt.
Almost. Sand. Salt is also going to ruin it, yes. They throw in some sand. This is Vaishnava aparad. Spiritual life is not easy. To make progress in spiritual life is not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. Because it's a fight with the mind. So much endeavor to make some spiritual progress, and then spoil it all. Throw it all away by being careless, by speaking in a way which is critical of other devotees, by hearing criticism of Vaishnavas. No one has the right. No one has the right to speak to me criticism of Vaishnavas. That's not their right. If they want to kill themselves, that's their business. And it's unfortunate. But they don't have the right to kill me also. These ears are meant for hearing something very specific. They're meant for hearing about Krishna. They're meant for hearing the holy names. They're meant for hearing glorification of the Lord's devotees. And those sound vibrations, they feed the soul and they awaken our remembrance of Krishna and our feeling for Krishna. And they bring us towards perfection. That's what the ears are made for. And the tongue is made for a similar purpose, for glorifying Krishna, for glorifying Krishna's devotees, for speaking about how to serve Krishna and benefit other souls. So this we have to be vigilant. It's not a question of, no, one has to just take a vow. I don't criticize Vaishnavas. In fact, avoid criticizing any living entity, because then it just poisons the mind. It blocks our ability to appreciate that person, to benefit that person. There's more to be said, much more, of course, to be said, but this covered some of the main points in this verse. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Haribol. Do we have time for questions? All right. Time for one question, possibly two. Any questions? Yes, please. Haribol.
The first question is that sometimes I'm finding myself trying to be tolerant, but then we are not completely forgiving. We are just tolerating, and then it accumulates. I don't mind. And how to deal with it, like properly, that we are trying to become tolerant, but then not to just swallow it and let it somewhere.
These things are a challenge. There's not an easy way to, to suddenly become a tolerant, forgiving soul. It requires endeavor. It requires prayer. It requires vigilance. And one thing that's very helpful is if we have a good spiritual practice, we tend to be happier. Yes? We tend to be happier when our spiritual practice is solid. And at the heart of our spiritual practice is proper hearing and chanting. When we're filling ourselves up with spiritual sound vibration, then we tend to be happier. And when we're happier, it's much easier to be tolerant. And it's much easier to be forgiving. Yes? When we're unhappy, unfulfilled, then everything annoys us. And everyone annoys us. Maybe not everyone, but it's much easier to be annoyed. And it's very difficult to forgive. I know it's the right thing. I know I should forgive that person. I know that person is just an agent of my karma. Yes? Prabhupada said, don't be angry with the agent of your karma. Right? I know all these things. I don't care. I still hate that person. Why? Because I'm not happy. Because I'm not fulfilled. So we're approaching this challenge on different angles, from different angles. One angle is the angle of the intelligence, where the mind is just freaking out and the mind just wants to be vindictive and unforgiving and blah, 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 right? That's the mind. And then the intelligence says, yes, but Taradas, haven't you read for the last number of years that, you're in the material world because of your own misconduct and you've caused a lot of pain to others, and this is simply a token, blah, blah, blah. Not blah, 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 but, you preach to yourself, right? You put your mind in place with the intelligence, right? And then if you have a good spiritual practice, if your spiritual practice is strong, then you have a very good chance of following through with what the intelligence knows to be correct. In the absence of a good spiritual practice, in the absence of experiencing some level of spiritual satisfaction, then it's just all intellectual stuff. Yes, you should tolerate, you should forgive. I hate that guy, right? But if you're happy, then you're happy. You're like, yeah, forgiven. In fact, not only forgiven, I wish the best for that person. Let that person be happy. I wish that person Krishna's mercy. This is the attitude of a spiritually advanced person. Not only I forgive, but I wish that person the best. Just like Prahlad Maharaj, I wish that person the best. Not only I forgive, but I wish this person Krishna's mercy. Because that person finally is a soul. And their natural position is not to be misbehaved. Their natural position is to be in love with Krishna. So I wish for that person what I wish for myself. That's it. And that's something that we cultivate, actively cultivate it. And whatever we cultivate, whatever we practice, becomes solidified. Yes? Whatever we feed becomes stronger. So that's the thing we feed. We feed it, and we say, Krishna, I need help with this. Krishna, I want to be a devotee. I don't want to think like a non-devotee anymore. I don't want to think like a materialist anymore. I want to have the mentality of a devotee. Please help me. And then incrementally, Krishna will help us, will help us, will help us. And then when we fall short sometimes, we say, Krishna, okay, I blew it. I fell short, I wasn't tolerant. I wasn't forgiving. Krishna, I do want to develop these qualities. You please help me. And certainly, Krishna fulfills the desires of everyone. All the nonsense, rubbish, foolish, horrible desires of souls in this world. Krishna's fulfilling. He's not going to fulfill the desire of someone who's trying to be Krishna conscious. Of course he will. Over time. Is that okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Any final question? We don't have time, do we? Okay. You can ask the question right after the class. Yeah? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. No.
It's always like
everything is right in its proper time.
Yeah. It's just everything gets delayed after. I always get nervous. Including me.
I'm going to make it eventually.
Prabhu, next time if you want a chair, no problem.
Yeah.
I think it's better, no?
That's a good idea.
Can I help?
No, it's all right. Just